One is for 68. We have 68 million euros, under which there will be 53 million euros, which is for trade facilitation, and another 15 million euros, which is for the small-scale cross-border, trade. But we also have another one that we are signing under the energy, program, and we are doing this on behalf of the other Rex, that is SADC, EAC, etc., that are not here with us today. This is why I was welcoming our colleague from the regulator from the SADC region to say we're happy that he's with us today. Let me simply say the following on the two components of the program that we are signing today. To say that with respect to trade, facilitation, that is specifically the 53 million euros allocated for trade facilitation. I think what we need to do is to ensure that as we move towards the implementation of the programs, we not only have a smart partnership with the EU, but we also have got a smart program, and we also deploy smart instruments in order to ensure that we have the greatest impact in implementing that program. That will not, however, come by accident. It will be as a result of us looking at ourselves very hard in the mirror and saying, are we doing the right thing that benefits society, the economies of the region? Which means that three things come to mind, which I just want to articulate this morning. That as an organization, we have three pillars. One is that we are a knowledge organization. The second one is that we are a learning organization. The third one is that we are an innovation organization. Now, if we put those three together, then I'm quite sure that we shall come up with a smart program that will crowd in, particularly the private sector, the non-state actors, and the civil society in these programs. Because for too long, we have regional integration, which I've described as elitist. Elitist in the sense that we design the programs as bureaucrats, we sign them, but at the end of the day, you do not have the ownership by the stakeholders. What are the implications for this? The implications for this is that, and I'll be reporting to my own policy organs and insisting on that, is that regional integration funding for these programs from our development partners should not be seen as a residual for national development programs, because there is a tendency that when they are not mainstreamed into the national program, by mainstreaming I do not mean that we have not discussed with the member countries. We have discussed with the member countries, but what are the challenges we face? Generally, when we do our programming, our main interlocutors at the member states level are the ministries of trade. Now, the ministries of trade are not the national authorizing officers, because the ministries of finance and economic planning in the countries are the ones that do that. So there will be a tendency for that disconnect. But most fundamentally, we should also make sure that as we move towards the next Council and Summit, that we get member countries to put them high on the agenda, including the select parliamentary committees that deal with regional integration, that deals with funding from partners. They must be subjected to that. Because for too long, we have development financial assistance that is outside even the oversight of the Auditor Generals. They don't look at how resources are being used and what is the impact, because they are seen to being external to that. And this has created a situation whereby we have a situation inadvertently, I should say, where you find that the private sector is crowded out from that. So one of the major things I would like to see happening as we implement this project is how do we crowd in the private sector? How do we have public-private partnerships? For example, as I said to the Director General, my friend Masavinsi, in Djibouti last week, how do we ensure that as we talk about these one-stop border posts, that they are sustainable? Because if they are not sustainable in terms of maintenance and also management in the long term, they cannot rely on the dollars. So we need to revisit the model of saying, what is it that we should do? Perhaps what we should do is simply to facilitate by getting a business proposal for the one-stop border post, whereby then we shall then go to tender as a regional organization and invite participation by the private sector under a PPP model for the management of these one-stop border posts. So what am I simply saying here this morning before we sign this agreement? I'm saying that we need to move to a new paradigm of how we do things and harness the power of ICT in order to link up not only the markets but also link up the regulatory authorities so that they can do these things, better.
What the European Union can do is to continue to remain firmly committed to be with you, to share our own experiences, our own elements of success, also the lessons learned, which may not be so successful also from our perspective internal to the European Union, and provide you with, therefore, our acquis, our knowledge that we have accumulated in 60 years of integration process, and also to provide those kind of support, be technical or be financial, in order for you to better implement your strategy. And now here we come with two of the programs that we are signing today. One is the trade facilitation program, which has a budget of 53 million euro. For colleagues on the press here in Zambia is approximately the equivalent of 450 million Zambian kwacha. This will be, among other things, used to upgrade 5 selected border posts in the region. The one of Chirundu, the one of Nakonde Tunduma, the one Mwami Michinji, then Galafi between Djibouti and Ethiopia, and Moyale between Kenya and Ethiopia, in order to reduce time and cost of trade in these very important transport corridors. I can reassure that there is a lot of attention to try to make the best of integration between the national programs and the regional programs. Actually, with the national program here in Zambia, at times we are able to anticipate what is about to come at the regional level in order to make it complementary. And the example is that the Great East Road is about to be inaugurated and is leading to that border post, which is about to become a one-stop border post, as signed by Malawi and Zambia on Friday last week. Now, the program will not only support this upgrade of selected border posts, but will be used in order to support systems developments to monitor non-tariff barriers in the region, improve sanitary and phytosanitary measure, because the Secretary General said, and in a very eloquent manner, how important it is that these are not non-tariff barriers which proliferate, because otherwise all the other investments, diminish in terms of importance. We will not be able to reap the dividends of the investments. It will support also trade negotiation in order to connect the region in the world trade circle, and to help promote COMESA for investors through trade fairs. Now, all these investments have to be, related to the activities of the private sector, because it's extremely good to rehabilitate border posts, to upgrade border posts, but what is important is that the private sector will take advantage of that in order, to transfer more goods and more resources from one country to the other. Now, the second program which we are going to sign today is a 15 million euro, or equivalent to approximately 150 million kwacha, small-scale cross-border trade, which aim at supporting small-scale trades who cross borders at selected border areas. How? Upgrading border small infrastructure, but also with concrete measures to fight against corruption and to fight against harassment. The Secretary General made an example. We are all very keen to hear from you the feedback on how that experience is going to work with your IT department. The program will also strengthen the Cross-Border Trade Association in order to improve their capacity to support small-scale trading. I cannot be more happy of the fact that these two programs today are being signed also at the time when we are signing an important agreement on the energy front, because production of goods, economic growth very much depend on energy. And therefore, this is a real privilege to have the possibility today to have these three agreements signed at the same time. The region. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need the ambassador of the European Union to be here with you to explain how great are the opportunities in terms of energy production in the Southern Africa region. I mean, I think that it's in front of all of us, The European Union is collaborating with Zambia in the energy sector, is 50% of our own national indicative program in Zambia. Just to give you a dimension, 250 million euro of investments in the energy sector, and I'm speaking about grants here in Zambia, for the rehabilitation of the Kariba Dam, which is ongoing, for the expansion of the distribution network of electricity here in Lusaka, for the introduction of renewable energies in Zambia with some of the most important programs signed at the level of the African continent. And I agree with the Secretary General. There is an enormous interest by investors, certainly in Europe, where from the technological point of view, I have to say Europe represents a strong leadership in the world in terms of renewable energies. So a strong interest to come and invest here in Zambia, particularly when Zambia has entered into a phase of reforms. And I'm speaking in front of some of the senior representative of regulators. Reforms in terms of making tariffs cost reflective, but also reforms in terms of opening up towards private sector investments.